Arthur Morgan's connection to wildlife in Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most overlooked pieces of storytelling in the entire game. Yet it quietly reveals more about who he is than some of the main missions. Arthur isn't just a hunter or a man trying to survive off the land. He's someone whose inner world shows itself most clearly when he's out in the wilderness, away from Dutch, away from the gang, and away from all the chaos pulling him in every direction. And if you pay attention, the animals in the world react to Arthur differently based on his honor, his behavior, and even his sickness, creating one of the most subtle character mirrors Rockstar has ever built. One small but powerful detail is how Arthur comments on animals depending on his honor level. A high honor Arthur talks to his horse gently, apologizes when he kills an animal for food, and even gives respectful remarks like, "Easy now, boy," or "Sorry, fella, but I need the meat." Meanwhile, a low honor Arthur is colder, more resentful, and sometimes even cruel in tone. These aren't random voice lines, they're personality reflections. Rockstar recorded separate banks of dialogue to show Arthur evolving internally as the player shapes him. And wildlife interactions are one of the main places where the difference is most noticeable. What's even more interesting is how the game uses animal encounters to foreshadow Arthur's arc. For example, the legendary animals are all symbolic in one way or another. Creatures that require patience, understanding, and respect to track. They aren't hunted the same way as normal animals. There's no dead eye trick, no rushing in. You have to approach slowly, study the clues, and treat the animal like a worthy rival. And that's exactly how Arthur sees himself by the end. Not as a mindless outlaw causing destruction, but as a man who wants to walk through the world with purpose and leave something behind that isn't chaos. Arthur's journal is another often ignored piece of evidence. He sketches almost every animal he comes across, not just out of curiosity, but out of genuine appreciation. Some drawings are surprisingly gentle, even poetic. The bear he writes about in The Exit Pursued by a Bruised Ego mission, the wolves he sketches near Amberino, the birds he notes when resting at camp. These aren't the observations of a man disconnected from nature. They're the thoughts of someone who feels more at peace around animals than around most humans in his life. That contrast grows sharper as Dutch spirals and the gang fractures. The worse the gang gets, the more time Arthur seems to spend alone in nature, sketching, observing, and reflecting. Nowhere is this clearer than in the final chapter, after Arthur contracts tuberculosis. Animals behave differently around him, not in any dramatic scripted way, but in subtle AI conditions. Birds don't flee as quickly. Horses will calm faster, even wild ones. And Arthur's own comments become more philosophical, almost mournful. He'll say things like, "You're all right, girl, you're all right," with a softness that feels like someone trying to reassure himself as much as the horse. It's a detail that most players miss, but it's there. The world becomes quieter around Arthur as he gets closer to the end. And, of course, the most famous wildlife moment is his encounter with the coyote if the player achieves high honor before Arthur's death. That coyote isn't random, it's a spiritual symbol. Coyotes in Native American and Southwestern myth often represent transformation or a guide between worlds. And when Arthur sees it, limping, weary, yet still moving, it perfectly reflects Arthur himself. A survivor who's been wounded by life but still pushes forward, still trying to do the right thing, still trying to change even when the world won't let him. So when people say Arthur Morgan is one of the greatest protagonists ever written,